Hey kids, it's the Missing and Fly here. I'm on the Starship Enterprise today. Stick around, stay tuned. I'll tell you what I think to the BMW R1200RT. Now I've been wanting to ride one of these full dress tourers for a long time. I've never ridden one before, and the RT is the one that everybody raves about. It's the sort of the de facto touring bike in the UK now. It sells by the bucket load, well, as much as touring bikes do. So I was really quite keen to see what all the fuss was about, and I had to take the GS in for its service today. So this is the loan bike while she's in for the service, so great opportunity to give it a go and see what I think, because it has always been on my radar as potentially a replacement for the GS whenever I get fed up with that, which I'm nowhere near yet, by the way. So it's a really good opportunity to give it a try. First thing that strikes me is not a fabulous bike in town. It's as wide as a barge, and on the way down on my GS I was filtering away through traffic all the way, and it was fine. This thing though, it's so wide, I just filtering, forget it. It's as wide as a car, and it feels, well, quite a bit different to the GS. It's very comfy. It's got a heated seat, which is very nice, but you feel, oddly, given it looks so big, a lot more cramped than you are on the GS. I mean, it's not cramped, it's very, very comfortable, but your hands are much closer to your knees. Your knees are tucked up a bit more than you are on the big GS. And also, the steering seems a bit, I wouldn't say sharper, but it feels like it wants to fall into the turns more, which actually is quite nice. There's absolutely no wind buffet with this massive screen, and I love the adjustment here. There we go. Go up, now we can go down. So I can imagine on a motorway it would be absolutely beautiful as a cruiser. But she's a heavy old beast. When you're manoeuvring it at slow speed, you can feel the weight. Because it's a boxer though, the weight is quite low down, so it's not as heavy as you would expect. But very, very nice. It's got the same engine as the GS, but it feels quite different. It's got a bit more of a, I won't say vibey, because it's actually one of the first things that struck me when I rode it was it's very smooth, but it's got a lot of character, I suppose, is what they say in these cases, by which I mean things like when you're stationary, the windscreen flaps around a bit, and you can feel the vibration of the big old boxer there through the bars a little bit, but it's not intrusive. It's not something that would annoy you or give you any sort of strange tingles in the hands, I don't think. It's just you're aware that it's a big old twin that you're on. I really like having these mirrors low down here. It's kind of a natural place to just have a little glance down to see what's happening. And this heated seat really is something they should add to the next generation of GS. It is lovely. So, I'll find a bit more open road and we'll see how she goes with a bit more pace. Stick around. Having said this isn't the bike for traffic, okay, so filtering's not easy because of its width, but it's so smooth and so comfy. It's very, very civilised. I've been riding it for about 20 minutes now, and already I'm thinking, actually, this probably is the bike to replace the GS with when the time comes. I mean, it's obviously a completely different style of machine, so you've got to decide whether you want to go down that tourer route. But if you're going to do cross-continent stuff, this thing is just sublime. It is smooth, it corners lovely, it's stable. Well, here's this rock and roller on the screen, can you see that? That's the only thing that looks a bit rubbish, but I mean, you know, it's a big screen, what can you expect? I love this display here. The colour dash is fantastic, hope you can see that. And there's a blank in place here. I think as standard they might come with the GPS, the Nav5, which you've got the controller here for, so that's excellent. A really, really lovely machine. The only downside so far that I can see is it's not so good for filtering because of its width, although it is possible. I have done some of that as I've been going through Slough here. And its weight when you're moving it around on the driveway. Once you're moving, the weight disappears. But obviously when you're lugging the thing around, then it does feel its weight. But otherwise, a lovely, lovely machine. I'm much more impressed than I thought it was going to be. Really nice. Well, I think the way to describe the ride on this bike is sublime. It's smooth and comfy. It's so stable in the corners, it's lovely. It's nice, you can balance it easily at slow speed. It really is a lovely machine. I've just noticed as well, it's got the old Quick Shift Pro, so you can downshift and upshift without using the clutch. So a nice touch. Nice to know you can get that fitted on here. I have to say the gearbox is very, very smooth on this. It might just be because this is a brand spanking new bike. It's got, what, 1129 miles on it. But everything feels really tight and lovely, as you'd expect. The suspension is lovely and smooth. It's, to use the cliche, magic carpet ride. I think it has the semi-active suspension on here, and it does feel really nice and smooth. I can see why this always wins the awards for best touring bike. I can imagine sweeping across continents on this would just be a pleasure. So seat height wise, it's got a very low seat, so even though I've talked about the weight quite a bit, it's very easy to control. When you come to a standstill, you get both feet flat on the ground, and I'm only 5'8.5", so I'm not a big chap by any means. It's definitely a bit more manageable, I'd say, than something like the GS, which is tall. On these big sweeping corners, she just feels lovely and planted. Makes you feel a bit like Poncherello, or is that showing my age? Of course, the natural habitat of this machine is the motorway, so let's go and give that a try. Okay, now the airflow is nice and smooth at the moment with the screen at this setting. I'll just get up to cruising speed. There we are, there's 70. And the airflow is nice and smooth, no problem at all. Let's just see what happens if we put the screen up a bit more. Well, absolutely no wind on me at all now. And the trouble is I am looking through the screen, which seems a bit unnatural. Although, my word, it certainly does a good job at acting like a massive barn door against the wind. I'll bring it all the way down. Let's see what she's like for Buffett. Okay, yeah, there's the wind is there, but it's smooth. It's not turbulent air, so it's not a problem at all. No problem at all with the wind on this thing, so to speak. Yeah, top notch for motorway cruising. And no lack of power. Come on, little Beamer bread van. Surprisingly agile on the turns. Feels lovely and planted. Yeah, you can really chuck her about. So this bike is the absolute antithesis of a sports bike. It's big, heavy, bulbous, super comfortable. But it is great fun. Don't let people fool you just because it's a tourer and it looks like this sort of thing. It has a bit of an old man's image about it, that it's not a fun bike. It really is a beautiful bit of kit. So what I need to do now is find somewhere to stop and give you a bit of a walk around the machine. So here we are. It's the 2015 BMW R1200RT, the UK's favourite touring bike. And having ridden her for the last hour or so, I can see why. Actually, she's not a bad looking machine, is she? I mean, she is bulbous, but quite a handsome brute. Amazing lights on the front there. Be interesting to try it at night. But they certainly look like they're going to have some power. Looks quite nice in this colour as well. They come in all very mundane colours, greys, this sort of fawny colour. I think if I had one I might go for the silvery grey. Massive exhaust to comply with the new Euro 4 emissions and sound regulations. But suits this bike. Not much of the engine exposed, so it's going to be nice and easy to clean. So it's got everything you can imagine on this machine. It's got all the electronics. It's got the semi-active suspension. It's got traction control. It's got ABS. It's all adjustable. Brembo brakes. Amazing mirrors. Incredible dash. Cavernous panniers. And there's a back. Obviously, there's a top box that goes on as well, which you can get a backrest on. So if you're in the touring game, I can absolutely see why this would be the machine to go for. The other thing that it's got, which is quite novel, this one's also fitted with a quick shifter, as I mentioned earlier, is a radio. Now, the idea of a radio on a bike is just kind of beyond me, but you've got these massive speakers here. I'm not even going to try it, but presumably that helps if you're on a boring journey. You've got this massive screen, as we've talked about. Radio aerial looks a bit rubbish, but I guess that's a necessary evil if you want some on-bike entertainment, OBE. This one has the keyless ride as well, which is something I've not come across on a BMW before. It works quite well. I've got the transponder in my pocket, and basically you just press this button here to bring the bike alive, and you can see all this amazing dash lights up, and then you just press the start button and off you go. So that's all very nice. I think that's more nice to have than anything. It's also got the facility for the excellent BMW Navigator 5, which you control from the thumb wheel on the left hand side of the handlebars, which is the way of traffic here a bit, which is why I'm walking around. But yeah, you've got the control wheel which you control that with, and obviously it sits up where that blanking plate is, so that's an excellent addition. I would certainly specify it with that. Okay, so there she is. I have to say, a lovely bike, the BMW R1200RT. Let's get back on, do a bit more riding. There we go. This is a new first for me, radio on the bike. Now I've got earplugs in, I've got my helmet on, and I can clearly hear that radio, so goodness knows how loud it is. To say the sound quality is not too bad. I can get used to this. Only trouble is, don't know how to turn it off, but I have managed to mute it. So there we have it, folks. That's my first impressions type review of the fantastic Starship Enterprise of a bike that is the BMW R1200RT. My first full dress tourer, and I have to say I've been really impressed with it. It's a beautifully comfortable bike. It's powerful, it handles lovely, it looks alright as tourers go. It's laden with gadgets for transcontinental travel. I just don't think you could beat it, so it's top of my list for replacing the GS with when the time comes, which isn't yet, by the way, but when I do, then I should be riding one of these again, because it really is a fantastic bike. So I hope that's been of some interest to you, and I hope you've enjoyed that. Look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio.